Thanks so much for joining us on the Beer and Bullshit podcast again this week. Unfortunately, Jay and I were stood up by a guest this week, and we had to spend the whole time talking to each other. But it was a good time, and we chatted about work from home arrangements and what work from home might look like for people in the future. And also we talked about the recent gun ban implemented by the Liberal government and what gun culture looks like in Canada as opposed to the States and all that goes into that whole conversation. So, yeah, it was a good time, and I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Cheers.
We've been drinking beer, and we'll be drinking when you get here. Thinking, will I ever be sober? Hoping this will never be over. And I'm drinking beer, and I'll be drinking when you get here. We started drinking liquor, so we could get drunk quicker.
Alright, Beer and Bullshit, number 49. Jay, we've been stood up.
Won't be our first time, and won't be our last.
What the fuck? You know what? It's okay. We're going to chalk it up to technical issues, which seems to be a theme on this podcast, but I'm a little bit bummed because we were going to have a really good guest and really good conversation. I don't think we should reveal who it was going to be, though.
No, some people take it to heart for some reason.
For some reason, no. But
my screen's still showing you frozen. Oh well. I'm just gonna look at your pretty
to see me moving. You get to look at me, but just a still frame of me this whole time. So. Hopefully it catches up. But, yeah, so I guess we got lots to catch up on that we're going to have to suffer through talking to each other for an hour instead of having a guest on. What have you been up to this week anyways?
Well, this week was the last... Oh, there you go. Your screen's back. Was the last of my kind of working week. Well, I got about kind of have a week off kind of to get ready for my next assignments. So kind of just taking it easy. It's just been I finished some last minute paperwork, and now I'm just on baby and dog duty this week. Really, that's all really going on, and going to get the bike all tuned up for the new duathlon season.
Oh, okay. Hopefully they do schedule some races though.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You know what, man? In my running, in the last 4 months since the kid's been born,
you've fallen off
completely off the wagon.
Yeah.
Like my 10K run is going to be atrocious. I know I can still do, a 5 in an okay time, but it's not going to be good. But whatever, I'll get back to it. It'll be quick.
Yeah, I think it comes like that's part of like that, having that base and knowing that you've done it before, so you sort of know that you can get back to it, and even just knowing that you can do that, it feels like you're able to get back into it. I'm sucking balls right now for running because I hurt my knee, and now I'm like so tentative to get out there and do anything. And I haven't felt probably this way in the past year and a half there. I was going hard for a while, and you take the odd little break because you feel a little bit of a problem, but this is the first time that I've gone like a solid 2 weeks without
overextend it, or
I think I just pounded it a little too hard there because I went I
had that issue in college a few times.
Pounded a little too hard. No, I don't know that such a thing exists, but as far as like the knee goes, I think it's all tightness in my quad right now. I'm hoping that it resolves quick enough and I can get out there, because it affects you in so many other ways too. I find like when I fall off the wagon, it's not even just like that. I start drinking more, eat shittier, go to bed later. There's just so many things that sort of that keeps me disciplined for that I have a hard time doing. And now I'm like seeing myself kind of slip, and every night it's like, well, I'm not going to go for a run. So fuck it. It's nice outside. I'll have a beer, So it's interesting where your head goes, and you realize that it's easy to sort of slip into bad habits.
Yeah. But next to that, like, I guess you're just working from home still, and that's all going on with you.
Yeah, yeah, working from home, and I don't know, like
I got the COVID.
well, thank God you're I don't know, a couple blocks away down in Lower Melrose.
Yeah. The Bruins. But yeah, just working from home.
Yeah, working from home, and I don't know. I've been thinking about this working from home thing, and I some part of me feels a little bit guilty that I'm not enjoying it, but like obviously this is a really hard time, and it's really difficult for a lot of people in society in general. But like I've been sort of I don't know if salivating is the right word, but like a lot of stuff now is like sort of not frowned upon, right? It used to be that no, when you have like a meeting with somebody, you have to show up at and meet them in person, and it was a sign of like respect, right, to meet people in person. And I'm finding that now people are more flexible with things like video conferencing, which saves me a ton of travel. And I don't have to go, and I find it way more convenient in the sense of like efficiency in hours, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't something that was commonplace before, and some part of me is a little bit hopeful that not that this goes on longer than it has to, but that this kind of work from home thing sticks. And it might be that what has to happen is that this, for it to stick, is that something, is kind of a little bit more extended, that it becomes the new norm, right? So,
but do you like? I'm in the camp where I know I don't get as much done at home.
Yeah,
I have to go to the office, and like my current position, I only need to be in the office for certain things.
Okay,
I only need to go to work a few times. I can do the rest of my work from home. It's already set up that way. I can do it from home, and I have all the, I'm connected. I can jump online, do whatever. But I find working in my home office compared to my office at work, productivity is completely different. Also, like sometimes when I'm at the office, people, coworkers come by and we just start shooting a shit for, however long. And I'm like, I'm going to go hit the gym now, or I'm going to go get a coffee. Like you kind of just kill a bunch of time anyway. Like some days you're still not productive or as productive as you should be. But I find overall though, it's too easy here, especially I think just right now with the kid, it's too easy to like push that aside. I'm going to go take care of that. Like, or like, you get the yell like, hey Jason, can you help me out with this? So go help out the wife or whatever. So like, but I am from the, the point of view that I do get more work done at
the office.
I could at the office because I can lock the door, just kind of, maybe put on headphones, listen to a podcast while I'm working and just zone in and cut out the other side of the world, where I find here at home it's like, well, all right, that's 45 minutes in, time for a nap.
Yeah.
Just go sleep, like, whatever.
I hope your employer is not watching this. Because, Jason's 45 minutes into his workday, and he's going for a nap.
I mean, put the baby down for a nap.
No, I completely understand that, and I think like I'm in a bit of a privileged position on that front, because I definitely have been working from home for a long time. Like pretty much from the beginning of my career, that was an option for me. It was something that working remotely was expected. So I've traveled all the time in the work that I do, and in traveling, having the capability to do work on the road from a coffee shop, from wherever, right, was needed. So then having that capability at home was there as well. So in doing that, you recognize that all the things that you're mentioning, right, is that there's a lot of distraction in your home. Quite frankly, like this is my office right now. Like for various reasons, I've been kicked out of my primary office, but this is sort of my secondary office, and there's a lot of distraction in this room right now, and a lot of reason for me to not do work. And it's only in like really being mindful of those things and being able to sort of having the discipline to kind of break your day apart, and it's a whole other level of work, but I think ultimately it leads to, for me at least, to higher productivity. And I think it comes from the fact that like once you know that those opportunities are there to be more flexible with your time and know exactly when you can do something, like as much as there are distractions here, there are not there are no interruptions here.
And I guess the way like I'm maybe the way I'm thinking about it is that here the distractions here I can control a bit more, and I can cut, like I can say, all right, I don't care what happens, you can't come talk to me.
That's right.
Where if I'm at the office, you know, with how many people walking by, going nonstop, like, hey, I'm at the college, I'm gonna people knock on my door asking me, you know, like to go over an assignment, to go over a test, to go over this, and then just coworkers coming by asking me for help on this, asking me for help for that. So like I can't control those. Those are outside distractions that I cannot really stop. Yeah, I can put a sign on my door, but kind of a douchebag move. Whereas here,
well, you have been known to be a douchebag, so
it's in the family crest. El douchebag Publius. But yeah, but yeah, no, it's but here I can just tell the wife, you know, okay, I need these 5 hours straight. Don't bother me. I'm gonna, you know, if you know, unless you're bringing me a coffee, I don't really care. You know, like she'll come by, like, because actually I had to get a bunch of work done, and I listened to like it was like 5 hours of presentations on Tuesday or Monday. No, it was actually, I think it was on Sunday. And she literally just like, she was a jail warden, and she literally like get in the office, don't get out, and she would just you know, put her head in and say, hey, I'm gonna go get some coffees. Do you want one? It's like, sure. She's like, just keep, and I just plugged away, got all my shit done. So it's like you can control the distractions, where when you're at the office, it's only, you know, you can only control so much unless you have like a door that locks and no one can see if you're there, blah blah blah. But yeah.
I think that what ends up happening is that at the office there is a social aspect to work, right? Mm-hmm. And I think for some people, and especially if you work in a setting where not everybody has the same role or the same level of responsibility or whatever, right? And you know, you might work in a cubicle farm or wherever. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the option of shutting yourself out physically from that, some people, it really is, and there's nothing, you know, inherently wrong with that, but to some people, going to work is really part of their social life, right? It's a large component of their social life. So you can't expect that that's not going to bleed into, and you're going to have all sorts of conflicting kind of priorities at any given time when you put a whole bunch of people who have different agendas for their day in the same place. And what I like in removing myself from that is, like, as much as there, like you say, there are distractions, but you can control them, you're removing that whole aspect of other people imposing demands on your time, for that. You're in complete control. Now, it really does come down to what you decide to do with your day. If you've ended up not doing anything with your day, you're probably not going to be very happy with it, but it's completely on you, at least, right? Like, you haven't been pulled aside for a conversation, been held a little bit too long with somebody in a conversation, had to have that awkward kind of like, I'm walking away, but I'm still listening to you, you know, like, you know, there's so much of that. That's sort of like part and parcel of working in an office, or, you know, like I said, a cubicle farm. But it's I don't know. I like the work from home aspect, but it does require a level of awareness and discipline of how you're using your time. So
I'm kind of lucky. I do share an office with one person. There's two of us for 2 hour office, and first of all, she's like the sweetest person in the world. She's like the mom. She's like, would be like the best mom type thing.
Oh, the best mom? Like, I hope your mom's not listening.
Oh, no. My mom has nothing on this girl. But
sorry,
no,
Lucy.
We know it's like, there's time to talk, but essentially it's like, I got to get to work, or we know, you kind of get the hints of like, oh, you want to work? Get to it. I'm not going to bother you. But it's funny, like, because people, since there's two of us in the office, and our one wall is just essentially window, like a sliding
Yeah.
like, patio door type thing. So people like will be like, oh hey, and it's like, or one talk to the other one, and it's like shit, and it's like, oh, you want to talk? It's something kind of private. All right, I guess I'll get up and leave. All right, you just kind of walk out. Like sometimes it's not bad. Sometimes you're like, oh good, there's a reason to leave type thing. But no, it's interesting. Yeah. No, I do I want it? I find that since I was already able to work from home already, so it doesn't really change much.
No.
But it does allow me, like, I have more of an excuse, or it's not as much as I was allowed to work from home. You know, like management would still rather you be at work.
Is it frowned upon? Like,
I don't think it's frowned upon, but I think is that, you know, showing your face still says something.
Yeah.
Like I bet you if, let's say your office, you have a workstation at your office. If you went in,
yep,
with your name tag,
that's correct.
Douchebag McGee.
That's right. And how did you know?
I've seen your found address. But so like you can just go in and you do your thing. But let's say there's you and your coworker, right? You do the exact same job. You stay at home. You work from home 85% of the time.
Yeah.
Or let's say 80%. The other person stays at home, works from home half the time.
Okay.
Or even less. Let's say both yous are just as good at your job, just as well like, and all things being equal, the same. But you go for that job promotion, and once again, all things being equal, the only difference is that they are in the office that much more. They are engaging, they're speaking, and then whose first person comes to mind to the manager or the boss is the person they see all the time.
Yeah.
Are they working harder than you? Are they doing a better job? You know, maybe you're doing the same level job, but the thing is, they see them.
Well, this would explain why I'm not getting promoted, but don't show. People don't even know I work there anymore. But no, I think that makes complete sense. Yes, visibility is part of that, especially when you're working in an organization where your direct supervisor or the person who you're reporting to is in the same office. I think that falls apart when the decision makers on hiring and promotions and all that aren't in that office, and the visibility means nothing, right?
It's nothing.
Like where no one knows whether or not you're in the office, right? They just know that, like, they can check maybe a system to say whether you've logged into a system or whatever. But to me, it's whether or not, if you're logged in, you can probably log in from home, right?
Yeah.
So to some extent, it's sort of an equalizer in that sense that it sort of takes away the preconceived notions that a manager might have if all they're judging people on is like, oh, well, this person shows up, they show up on time every day. Well, you don't know that the person who's working from home is logging in 15 minutes early every day, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think this is going to be a big game changer for that, because many organizations.
This sounds like the most boring pod right now. I'm just thinking about
work from home, beer and bullshit. Work from home. We should be. I feel like we should be typing. What is it? An Office Space TPS reports or
TPS reports?
TPS reports.
Well, you're gonna need to hand in those TPS reports.
Oh fuck! It's like that's the best. That's the best movie. Eh? Was it not Buddy who did King of the Hill? Mike Judge.
Was it a Mike Judge?
Yeah, it was a Mike Judge movie.
Okay. And
that's a classic, eh? Just having that whole scene where they destroy the fucking copier, that's a complete classic. But just the whole idea of the movie itself, it was a hit. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that so many people are so fucking disenchanted about working in an office, eh? This might be the silver lining in all of this, where people are working from home a lot more now. And I think that people are going to realize, like, man, like, especially if they're able to build those habits in their workday, give themselves a dedicated workspace, and be able to really be mindful of how they use their time, they're going to find that they can be really effective at home and probably a lot happier, right? I don't know. That I'm speaking personally. Maybe some people are, like I spoke earlier about some people being it's their social life to come to work,
Yeah.
right?
I also wonder if, like, does this, like, do you find you've done less, like the TPS reports? Have you done less of those medial tasks, those pointless routine tasks that you're asked to do all the time? I find that, like, I would have a task where I have to, like, tell people, like, oh, these people have showed up or not showed up, or, like, kind of almost an attendance type thing. And I don't see it being a thing that people are really looking into now. So, like, well, not much you can do about it. Like, is there going to be some of those, like, little reports that is like, well, you know what, this obviously was a waste of time. This was kind of like a make work project. Are those going to be gone and be more based on, production or whatever? Like, I wonder if there'll be a change.
Jason, I'm gonna say, since I'm pretty sure my boss listens to this program, our workplace is the
Mine does
model.
not.
The model of efficiency and completely devoid of any unessential
Unnecessary.
tasks.
Yeah, exactly. Every task is as essential as the previous one,
That's
or
correct.
even more.
Or even more essential. That's right. Even more essential. No, I think that does make a lot of sense. I think a lot of organizations are probably going to go that way, and there's going to be a lot of trimming of the fat. But I think first and foremost, though, anybody who's working from home right now, where it's become necessary for them to work from home, so employers just immediately I'm thinking more maybe smaller organizations who really felt like where the owner or the operator of the business was really kind of wrapped up in knowing where everybody was and what they were doing all this time. And now, in order for it was kind of like, okay, either you shut your business down or you let everybody work from home. And especially if they see, like, oh my God, like, I was so worried about people not doing their job, and people just do their job, regardless of if I'm watching them or not, right? There'll be more of an acceptance and a level of comfort and less of a stigma associated with wanting to work from home. And I think ultimately it can be a really good thing, right? Especially if people are able to, they find that they have more flexibility in their workday, like, I don't know, whether it be, like, I've always found that the school day is very, is not well matched with the workday, right? A 9 to 5 and school ends at 3, and there's always a bus, like the bus drops your kid off at whatever time.
It doesn't let the kid get off unless a parent is there to take them off the bus.
Well, that's how it is now there, but
that was never a thing when I was a kid. It was just like,
not.
fend for your fucking self. If my brother and I forgot the key, we were just waiting on the front step until my parents got home 2 hours later
in the rain,
-40 weather. Yeah, it's like just sitting there like, well, that sucked. We used to have an old dead sunbird, not a sunfire, sunbird, sitting in the driveway, and we used to make sure one door stayed unlocked because that's where we would just wait in until my parents got home. So my brother and I just sitting there like, this sucks. We really should bring a key next time. Yeah, these happen to us often.
That's awesome. No, but something like that, right? Like if one of your parents was working from home at that time and had that flexibility and could let you in the house, or am I mistaken? I'm pretty sure your mom did work from home, and she was just like, you can't bother me at work until 5 o'clock. So you got home at 3 o'clock, and it was like, no, you got to stay outside, right? In the Bosno household, that's how things work.
Well, it's not much I can. I don't want to say too much in giving it away, but essentially, there was mother time, and unless we brought her a pack of smokes, we weren't coming in the house.
Couple empty boxes of wine after that, and sorry, we should not be bad mouthing your mom on this podcast. She doesn't listen.
No, God no, God no.
Anyways,
no.
But my original point was that it was like the bus drops your kid off at 3:15, and that's forcing so many people to have childcare arrangements after work, right? Like daycares and all of that, babysitters after work. It's a huge part of I don't know. It's like after school care, whatever it is, right? Yeah. If if more and more organizations allow parents or people in
flexibility,
general, yeah, just to work from home, and all you got to do is take your school age kid off the bus and set them up, like you go, hey, here, have a snack, like you do your homework kind of thing, and then you sit, like that's what out of your workday, right? Even if you do work till 5:00, like
what's the big deal?
It takes you 5 minutes to do that, and that saves you a whole heck of trouble when you're looking to plan, what your day looks like. Now, obviously, it's not going to work for everybody. Like I'm pretty sure there's no option for electricians or carpenters to work from home, but anybody who does anything on a computer, right? If you're sitting at a computer for the majority of your day, like the networks are there, the VPN technology is there. We should be able to set people up anywhere. Never mind working from home. You can work wherever the fuck you want to work from, right?
Well, I remember when I was doing my placement, so like my internship with the Canadian Olympic Committee, I was working from the Starbucks, and the office was in Toronto at the Eden Center or the Eden Tower or whatever.
Whoa,
and
fancy.
Well, there's the tower in the mall type thing.
Never been there.
In the mall.
I know the 101 mall.
But Eden Center has like a tower that goes up so far, and it's all offices. But the Olympic Committee is there. But like, I went in like once a week for a few weeks. Next to that, I just worked from like a Starbucks or like wherever in Hamilton.
That's right.
Or I would go to Merit Brewing, having a beer at the brewery.
Yeah.
Just like whatever, just work from there. Like there was no. What's the difference? Especially if you're doing research, if you're writing proposals, you don't need to be sitting in somewhere like. Unless there was a library of some sort you needed, but like, what the hell?
Yeah, and I think the more we sort of start to be, and I hate the word judged, but I mean like, if your performance assessment is based more so on your output or the quality of the work that you do or whatever it is, right? If you're meeting deadlines, if you're doing those things, then really there shouldn't, like, what do they care what you're wearing at work or what you're, like maybe there's a certain level of monitoring that needs to happen if people are having to call customers or whatever. So, but there's call recording software. There's all sorts of shit.
There's stuff like that. Like, I guess, like, it's maybe some security aspects and not being able to bring, certain type of files out. Yeah. But, like, even then, there's certain things, like, if I'm using the network at the office frontline and like a VPN server and just going on, like I'm not taking anything home with me. Yes, I guess there's an opportunity where I can print something off and just go nuts with it. But like I think that's kind of like the professionalism slides in. But yeah, like most sessions, once again, unless you're production, unless you're electrician, skill trades, like yes, those things can't work from home. But yeah, it's like. Well, the consulting. I could have done my consulting from home.
100%. Yeah.
Going for my meetings, go meet my clients when need to. Next that. Yes, banking. I would have to stay at the bank. I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but even there,
to a degree,
there's a lot you could probably do, right? And I mean,
a bunch of the wealth guys just worked on the road. They went place to place. Who cares?
You've got to meet with somebody. You don't necessarily have to. Like, especially now, like you want to really get into the weeds of this. Like we're recording a podcast remotely right now. What's the reason why this can't be a meeting between, somebody from a company and a client or a potential client? There's no reason. Like the technology and the as long as you got a good connection, it's good enough now that you can really, and especially if you take the time, like I always find that if you're sitting there with a phone on and you're talking into the phone and the screen's not really that big and it's just kind of a bit of a pain in the ass, those calls can kind of be exhausting. Those video calls. But if you've set yourself up in a way that you've got a decent camera, you've taken audio into account in the sense that like you're making it seem a little more natural and you've got a good connection, It really makes a night and day difference in these things. And there's no reason why you can't conduct a good meaningful meeting, right? That's not the equivalent of a fucking scratchy phone call and has a bunch of delay to it. There's no reason why you can't do that over a video call now.
And you're right. And like, actually, I know I don't say that often, but
you're
right.
Thank you very much, everyone.
It hurt.
Note that.
It hurt.
Podcast audience.
But
it probably physically hurt.
It did. My heart kind of like just cringed. It just squeezed a bit. Like, oh,
you're
no. But did he? No, he didn't. Damn it. I thought McCaver might have responded. But he didn't. I was gonna say the. What was it? Oh,
talking about video
you're talking
calls.
about good connection. I would say like one-on-one is fine, because right now with this I find there hasn't been an issue. You know, we can easily do this podcast. Yes, I don't think we're at, I think it might be bandwidth, might be, computer access or internet access and speed, whatnot. But like when we have a third person on these, it's tough not to jump on somebody else while they're talking. Yeah. There's a delay too. There's been a couple times where, there's a half-second delay, not even half-second. You think you have the opportunity and you go to speak, and then it's like you're stepping on. You're like, no, you go first. And I just did today. This morning I did 4 hours of case competition judging for some cases, some like business plans in Windsor. So I was a judge doing it out of here, and there's 3 judges, 4 participants or 4 team members per team, and I did 4 of those. But like trying to like jump on, there's that little. It's hard to like. They don't have it set properly. Like, yes, there's some of the apps where you put your hand up to speak, but like it still doesn't. People don't see it, and like so you're sitting on your camera with your hand up. Like, can I speak next? It's still not great. I do think like you could, if we were doing it, you would, and if you were having a proper meeting, you would have a moderator type thing. If it was a large group, which you can do it better. But like, no, it's getting there. It's still not perfect, but you're right. Like a one-on-one thing, you can easily do it. If it was a banking thing, like as a commercial banker, you can just call the people up and just do it from home. And yeah, I'll set you up on that. We'll send that up. I'll send you the documents. My freaking, I got Cedric Bradette as a freaking as a real estate agent. We're just sending each other documents on our iPads. Yeah. I'm signing it on my iPad, send it back to him.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's so many ways around things now, and like to your point, I'm doing physio right now, rehabbing a knee, and I had my first virtual appointment with Restore Physio. Shout out to Restore Physio, Patricia. Fucking great.
She did not send us the bill yet. I'm sorry, or the check.
The bill. No. This is how this podcast works, Jay.
She just has to check. We cannot say her name on this podcast, so we'd rather go back and bleep that out. Continue.
I thought you were gonna say we've said the name. We paid them. We've said the name, so now they're gonna send us a bill. That's how it works.
That's how you make the real money. You gotta put money down ahead of time to make money later.
Yeah, you gotta spend money to make money, Jay. But I had my first virtual appointment, which is just basically through telehealth, right? Mm-hmm. And at first I was a little bit like, what do you get out of this? But it really was, like, I thought it was beneficial, and a lot of it relied on my own sort of reports back and forth and being able to provide feedback on like she's asking me to do certain movements or to sort of do certain stretches and say, okay, how does that feel? So there's a lot of that. It's imperfect for sure, and it's not the same as being in the clinic, but it's definitely still very viable. And you could imagine that there would be ways to facilitate this in a way that's provides more information, better feedback on the other end, right? Like for a lot of stuff. So let's say, I don't know, like you go to the doctor's office for a checkup, right? Like we're talking about telehealth right now, right? So you go to the doctor's office for a checkup. What do? They take your weight, they take your blood pressure, they'll listen to your heartbeat, right? They'll listen to your breathing, right? With a stethoscope. All of those devices are very simple devices, right, that transmit some kind of information. So you can see how, if that's something that you needed, you could definitely be sent some package with a USB interface where you plug that into your computer and you put the stethoscope to your chest, and the doctor's on the screen listening to what that stethoscope is transmitting. Now, are we there yet with that kind of technology? Are we, do we have the connection to be able to do that?
We almost are, or technically are. Because I'm a fat piece of crap, for some reason my body
You said it, not me.
My body decides it doesn't know how to breathe properly while it sleeps. It just stops. And I guess that's really bad for your body. So I have, a sleep app machine, and it will, it has wireless connection and sends my sleeping information to the doctor wires, through just regular data connection, like your cell phone. Sure. It's not even on my Wi-Fi. It's just like as if it's its own cell phone built in. It sends them, and they will check out my sleeping patterns, and they'll do it every few weeks. And they're like, oh, hey, we readjusted your machine to pump in more air into you because you're not, and like, I don't even know what's happening. Yeah. I just put it on my face, go to sleep, pass out, and I guess I breathe better now. But yeah, no, it does that. And like, no, I'm not going into the office. I'm not talking to them. Yeah. They just told me, they're like, oh, by the way, we did this. We just checked it out. We increased it because of whatever. Or, come in to get the new machine because you needed a new one for some reason. Like, oh, okay. And you just do it. The craziest thing about that machine, so I have the full face mask on because I'm a mouth breather, like a Neanderthal.
That sounds about right.
They gave me the nose one. I'm like, I don't know what this is going to do. It's not going to work. First of all, my nose is too big to be in this thing. But they gave me the full face one, and it was like the first day. I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's interesting because it's all it's doing is pushing air into your body. Okay, yeah. So it sets up like a splint. Because you have that little flap in your throat between your nose and your throat that allows air in. And so what happens when if you have sleep apnea is that it closes all the time. So you choke, and then you have to you wake up and you have to get your breath back. So this just makes it so there's air going in your nose and your mouth the whole time, so it stays open. So there's always oxygen going through, regardless. So if you just open your mouth and stop breathing, air just keeps circulating. It just, so it's a really weird feeling, and it's pushing air in the whole time. So the one day I'm like, oh, just trying it out. It was first day or two, and I'm like, I just breathe in as deep as I can because you really feel your lungs pump up. And while I was doing it, the power went out in the neighborhood. It was so no air was coming in anymore, and it just this weird zero pressure. And I was like, oh my god,
I'm dying.
I had to take it off and just learn to breathe. And then I'm sitting there for the rest of the night freaking out. I'm like, I hope I didn't screw something up, and now my heart is just dying on its own. So I didn't sleep for 6 hours because I was freaking out about it in my own head. Yeah. So
see, yeah. You better not. One thing I was gonna say is don't be an asshole to anybody who's working at that lab that's making these adjustments to your machine. It's gonna be you wake up one day or not wake up one day because it's I feel like the oxygen level is just slowly being diminished in this machine. Yeah. Your sleep patterns are dictating that, Jason. This is why we need to slowly wean you off this thing we call oxygen. You're getting too dependent on breathing.
No, but but they're at that point already.
It's there.
Yeah, it's there. So it's going to keep happening.
No, and I think we're going to see more and more of these types of things. And I mean, we were talking about work from home, but this isn't just work, right? This is work for some people, but it's also a lot of the things that you leave your house for, which sort of leads into a conversation of okay, this all sounds great and convenient and such a time saver, but every bit of technology that we have is supposed to have saved us time And what it does is leads us to feeling like we have no time. Right? Like, who do you talk to now that goes like, man, ever since I got this iPhone, holy shit, do I have a shit ton of free time. Man, I'm so efficient with this iPhone. Like, weren't we?
No, you're right.
Like, weren't we promised efficiency and time saving?
Is it just that? But like, you just start. You're filling up that free time with more shit. Like, and even if it's work productivity, oh yeah, we saved you how much time to do this. But even then, like, I'm given an iPad to teach on. I'm given this to work on. Really, it's just like, first of all, there's the hours to learn it, then the hours to develop, and regardless what environment you're working in, nothing works perfectly with the other. Sure. So you're always working on that fix, that workaround. So it's never perfect. But then also you just start, you might just, like you're saying, you have your iPhone, and you're screwing around, you're playing, Candy Crush and Words with Friends, like whatever,
or panic scrolling through your news feeds.
Yeah.
Reading up on the latest coronavirus.
Conspiracy theory sites.
Sure.
That's.
Whoa, what? Conspiracy theory? Conspiracy reality, Jason.
Conspiracy truth.
Did you not realize that they're now taking all of our guns?
Hey.
All of them.
All of them. Every single one. You know what's and so let's get into it. Let's talk some politics.
You want to talk politics? Okay, I got to get another beer before we do this, case.
Okay, so we'll pause. We'll be right back. People won't even know we're gone. That's how quick this is gonna be cut.
It will be cut, and I will sort of phase them into each other. But yes, yeah.
I want a beer too.
Okay, sounds
good. Let's go get a beer.
All right. And we're back. Okay, so that was quick. It's almost somebody gets us beer.
So before we talk about things that we are completely against the government about, what are you drinking right now? I see a beautiful, colorful can that you have there.
I was influenced by you. I think you were drinking this last week, but I am drinking the Hipster by Compass Brewing. Fucking delicious. It's one of my favorite beer run beers.
I believe there might be some hibiscus tastes and notes in that drink.
That sounds about right. It's kind of in the name, so no, it's delicious. I think we've rated this one maybe like 4 or 5 times already, so it probably doesn't need to be rated.
For the Compass one, it is my go-to. But today I actually did stop by our good friends at Compass Brewing as well.
Oh, you too? Fuck off!
I have the Anything Goes. There you go. Did you go today?
That one too. Yeah, I went today.
Yeah, that's what I. Actually, first I went, and this is something I think we need to bring on the podcast sooner or later. I know we were talking about it before our last hiatus, and I'm just spilling all over my goddamn.
Look at you.
Alcohol abuse. Mr. Riley Heffernan. I went to O'Reilly's to go drop off my bike, but I kind of forgot that I was supposed to call him ahead of time, and I didn't. So he wasn't taking my bike, so I got to do it Monday. But I went to go drop off my bike today. Ended up not being able to, so I just defaulted with driving over to Compass.
Going to get beer, driving from one end of town to the other. Oh well, I mean it's on the way.
We gotta go anyways. Did I pick anything? No, that was all I picked up. I try to spread the love,
That's right.
But yeah, no. So doing the Anything Goes dry hop sour.
It's delicious, that sour.
Yeah,
fucking good.
So, what I want to talk about. So, obviously, we can talk about COVID. We can talk about people not being allowed out, about this, whatever. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore.
COVID?
Is he? I don't know. Actually,
so 4 weeks ago, Jay.
Should we make jokes about that when people are still sick? Yeah. So, we could talk about how this and that, but okay. So obviously, big news as of yesterday and today. The liberal government, controlled by Justin Trudeau, taken away and banned 1,500 assault-styled rifles. I want to know before I tell you what I really think about this.
Well, you tell me the right answer to this question, right?
I want to know what you think first.
Okay. I can tell you generally what I think, but I can't tell you specifically because I don't know specifically what this bill is outlawing. But I mean, I own guns. I'm pretty sure none of the ones I own are now considered prohibited. But there are three classes of firearms, and there's non-restricted, restricted, and prohibited. And the way I've always seen it is like non-restricted, generally your hunting rifles, your shotguns, anything you would normally see anybody who does, any outdoorsman. That's usually what they own is a non-restricted firearm, which is a long gun. Restricted firearms, I know it's more than this, but typically handguns, which means you have to have a special license to own. There's procedures for transporting them. You can only use them in certain settings. And then there are prohibited firearms, which are your assault style military grade weapons, right? I've always sort of thought of it as automatic weapons. Weapons that have that capacity, and those prohibited weapons nobody in the general public can own. Only military, police,
and museums.
Sure, yeah, that they can actually have them.
Special things, yeah.
So
those are the three. Yes. So you're essentially all right with that.
Okay.
Like there's little things here and there, but essentially,
sure.
Yes.
But what I understand with this legislation is that it's now classified certain new firearms as prohibited when they used to be restricted. But nothing from the non-restricted category.
No, stuff from the non-restricted has now, I believe, have also been made
prohibited.
Yeah.
Okay, so see, this is where I feel like I sort of understand both sides of this argument. I feel like generally I try to give some kind of understanding to people on both sides of these things, but I do think that sometimes a lot of the nuts and bolts of these decisions are made on feelings and sort of the appearance of a firearm, right? Like how it's going to be classified. And I think there's a lot of discussion on that front as far as saying like, okay, something that looks like it would be used by the military, like it's black and it has a pistol grip on it or whatever. But if ultimately what it ends up being is nothing more than a semi-automatic not shotgun, but a semi-automatic rifle that is more or less the same as what you'd use to go hunt deer or moose or whatever, right? That is there really a big difference there? I don't know, because really what you're outlawing here, like what you're making prohibited, because there's very little difference between like that gun and the gun that's got like the nice wooden stock and is a semi-automatic like 30-06, right?
Yep.
So I guess there is maybe an argument that when they make these things out of certain materials and they're lighter and there's the pistol grip, like it's built for efficiency, which in the end in a active shooter situation or something like that it can be used to more dangerously than a hunting rifle. So there's a legitimate argument there. It's not just that, people look at it and say, "Oh, it looks scary," and I'm not a gun owner and I don't know anything about guns, so I'm just gonna like look at that. So you can't just sort of write off that side of the argument. There is something to be said there, but I also understand the other side where there are like people who are law-abiding gun owners who feel like they're being maligned by this.
Yep.
Ultimately, the question, though, comes down to, in our society, are we going to accept that sometimes, because there are people who are going to choose to do horrible things with, tools, sometimes we're going to have to like ban those things. Yep. Because, they, as much as you are a law abiding gun owner, A child can get a hold of that. You know, they can, and I mean, they do. It does happen. And as much as you want to have, protective procedures in place, or like certain security measures, requirements, like you got to lock your ammo away from your guns. You got to make sure that things are locked up and secured all the time. Like, these things still happen, right? Like, people who aren't supposed to have guns end up with guns. And sometimes it's just understandable that, you know what, we're going to take certain measures to say, yeah, you can still have this class of gun, but this particular class, no, because we're taking that incremental step to just be, to be more secure as a society. Because if those wind up in the wrong hands, they'll do more damage than, like, we're weighing your desire for, I don't know, happiness in having a certain firearm versus the possibility, remote possibility. Let's be honest here. It's still a remote possibility that somebody who's not supposed to have a gun is going to wind up with a gun in their hands and do a lot of damage. And I mean, you know, that's an active debate we have to have all the time. Right. So
you're correct.
Thanks. Correct. I got the right answer.
Yeah, you're correct.
I think I skillfully straddled the line between not taking a side.
Exactly. So I want as well, gun owner. I have my fair share.
You hear that? You hear that, police?
I have, the rimfire, the centerfire. I have the shotguns. I have semi-automatic, bolt, pump, break action.
These all sound like sexual positions to me. I don't know. Rimfire,
bolt, man, I gotta say,
break action.
In late high school, when I first met, my long-term girlfriend, break action all the time. Break action all the time. And then, we got bored. So then in college, I found somebody. We did pump. Pump style, nonstop.
Took a little while to get to rimfire, I'm sure.
The rim, what? But it's something I wanted. That's the. Anyway. So the only thing I got, like, before all this discussion, and do I think this and that? One thing I don't think people understand. It's gun ownership in Canada, firstly, is not a right. It is not in the Charter of Rights that we own firearms. Yeah, we don't have a Second Amendment bullshit. Yeah. We don't have all this. It is a privilege, all right, given to you by
the state,
in God's, in the grace of God, Queen Elizabeth II. Okay, that's given to you. And as stupid as that sounds, that's actually technically correct. Anyways, but given to you, the state, the crown, gives you the privilege to own a gun. We do have a culture and a history of, essentially conquering and taming the wild. To, we had, expansion in all of, and settling in all of Canada, which required, pioneers to have weapons and blah, blah, blah. And we have a hunting culture. First of all, and I'm going to take you the whole equation of First Nations culture of hunting on their land. That's a whole other, ball of wax to argue. So yes, we can talk about that, but the ownership of firearms is a privilege. It is not a right. People currently have them, and we're law-abiding citizens and law-abiding gun owners, and now technically might be punished to a degree. Is it going to be a buyback program? I'm not too sure what to discuss about. It is a buyback. Yeah. So technically, you are not out of anything.
No,
you are getting your fair market value, dollar amount. You can then go buy a non-restricted weapon or restricted. So I'm not 100% sure if all the non-restricteds have been, the ones that are being non-restricted to restricted or prohibited. I'm not sure if any of them are now restricted and you still need your license for it or whatever. I'm not your ATF to use, which is already a very tedious thing to have already. You have to have an ATF with a gun range, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, So regardless, I'm not sure what the specifics are, but I did look at the guns that are listed. So they're all the AR styled. Most of them are AR styled assault rifle looking, essentially look like the M16 or the M4A1 carbine, machine guns. Essentially what the Canadian and American forces use.
Sure.
There's
just
the
look.
longer
It looks
version
like them, though,
and
right?
look like them. And essentially, and if you look at the list, there's 1,500 things, but the thing is, half of them are the same gun, just made by different manufacturers. And some of them have the longer barrels, some have the shorter barrels, some have the stock, different stocks, some have different handles, blah, blah, blah. So the only thing, I'm telling you right now, I'm completely for it. First of all, because you don't need them to hunt. Yes, some people like
hunt
sport
with
shooting.
them.
And some of them you can, some you can't. But first of all, my 30-06 bullet compared to the NATO 556, whatever the hell it is, my 30-06 bullet is a much larger caliber, much more deadly. So there is an argument saying, why aren't we outlawing that? We can talk about that. Sure. Mine takes down a 1,400-pound, moose. The other one takes down a person. Whatever.
Sure.
There's an argument there, and I get that argument. Who's you? Who are you? If you saw me coming through the bush, and we're both going for partridge, and I'm coming through with my AR-15, I look like a goddamn tool. All right? And the only thing I think about is who is it attracting to buy those weapons?
Yeah.
People who have a bit of that want to have that, the survivalists or whatever. I'm going to get this. I'm going to, be ready and be armed. And these guns have a huge market of aftermarket parts. 1,000 different type of scopes, laser sights. What the fuck do you need a laser sight for? Flashlights on them. You're not allowed to shoot a gun
protection?
at night. Some of them have the flashing pulsating light to blind people while you walk into a room. Why do any of these things need to be made? Yeah. And then they're saying, well, they're already all the magazines are already bolted, so they can only allow 5 rounds in it. But the thing is, we all know those things can be drilled out, and you can buy your gun legally and get a magazine that's not enabled or disabled to only allow 5 bullets. You can have just a regular one that has the full 20 some odd rounds in it. So we want to talk about, and even then, let's say only 5 rounds are allowed. You can only have 5 rounds in it. You buy 10 of these goddamn clips. Yeah. You're still shooting 50 freaking bullets that are still deadly from 200 yards away, 300 yards away. I think it's we don't need them. It's not needed. It attracts a certain type of person, and people want to say, it's not the, my argument is always is the pit bull argument. All right, and we might have said this before, the pit bull or the Rottweiler. You can even go to the German Shepherd. Okay, what are those dogs bred for? What was a German Shepherd bred for?
Herding sheep.
Originally, what? No. You're right. You're right. No, originally, there was it was actually, I think it was more of the German Shepherd itself was more of a livestock guard dog. But regardless, but pit bull. What was a pit bull made for?
To fight, probably.
To fight. German Shepherds were then afterwards bred to also attack.
Okay.
They are dogs of war. Okay. Some of these dogs are bred to attack people and other animals. Okay. They're bred for that. They're made for that specific reason to do that. The issue now is we want to get rid of some of these dangerous breeds. Okay. Yes, you can have a perfectly good bulldog, perfectly good pit bull, all this stuff. But once again, they attract a certain type of person. Not all of them. Hey, they're great dogs. So you're attracting a certain type of person. So it's getting that, you're now eliminating that variable. It's the crazy person who wants a scary looking dog. So when it comes to the gun, you're eliminating that person who wants that scary looking gun.
Okay, but can I stop you there for 1 second?
Sure.
To play devil's advocate to that, right, is you're I a little bit, I understand that side of the argument in the sense that it's like advertising cigarettes to kids, right? Like, there's a certain class of people that we do not want to advertise this product to, because it can be harmful to them and potentially harmful to others. Now, that's, I'm sympathetic to somebody who is law-abiding, likes guns, is, one of the certain types of people that you're talking about, right? Like the type of person that is attracted to a tough-looking gun and wants to, just wants to carry a rifle, but it's sort of infantilizing to that person to say, oh, you, because you're scary looking and you like this kind of thing, that we're going to make it illegal for you to do what you like, because regardless of if you obey the laws or not, right? Because we just don't want a person like you owning a gun, right? So that I fully appreciate where the like somebody listens to that, and and I feel like I can picture the person, right? Just being like, listen, I'm a law-abiding gun owner. I'm sorry you don't like the way that I look, or the way that I what I like to do, or what I what I enjoy, that I enjoy big guns and whatever, right? I'm sorry that that's the case, but I'm not a danger with them, right? And legitimately they aren't. So that type of person, I get where their outrage comes from. Now, to me, the legitimate problem is not that person will have the gun, right? The person walking through the bush with the fucking AR-15 looking rifle, because that's what they like to do, or they just like to go out shooting on a Saturday afternoon, right? Like,
which I'll tell you, I love doing too.
Yeah, sure, and it's fun. Like I recently went on a bachelor party where we went and I shot an actual AR-15 in the States, and it was a fucking great time.
I've looked at buying an AR-15 styled 22. Just
there
because
you go.
Like, hey, whatever, as a larger clip, and it's you're just gonna go plinking, and I'm just gonna go hit a bunch of targets.
Sure,
and just whatever.
And what if
I've thought about it.
If you decided to wear oversized Oakleys, have a large, well, I mean, you just shaved your large beard, and wear an Affliction shirt, like, would it be wrong for you to own that gun?
Well, if I was also driving a Dodge Ram or a Jeep, yes. Yeah.
Then that's what we should be outlawing, right? But that's what I mean, right? Is there's all sorts, and I get where somebody feels like this is elitism, right? Mm-hmm. I get where that comes from. So I think we need to be sympathetic to this idea that somebody might feel like, what the fuck? You're just painting me as a criminal when I'm clearly a law-abiding gun owner who does what they have to do. So that to me is a completely understandable sentiment, and I think where we need to really drill down on is something where we can find that common ground, and I think that comes down to an understanding of the real danger of the guns. And it's saying, listen, this can be this particular firearm, right? If you can demonstrate that a particular firearm can be used more efficiently to be damaging and dangerous to people around you, I think even the people who like those guns, right, they can understand that there's always a risk of that gun falling into the wrong person's hands. And I think if we stopped with this idea that, like, oh, it's a certain type of person who likes this kind of gun, and it's a certain, like, that and we just went more to the idea that these guns can be dangerous if they fall into the wrong hands, then we'll all be on the same page. We'll all be on the same team about banning them, right?
I could agree with that. And I think to that, you're saying these can fall through the wrong hands. It is, stats have shown that, yes, the people who are committing gun crimes usually are not law-abiding gun owners.
That's right.
Well, first of all, they're not law-abiding because they're committing gun crime. But like before,
before they were not law-abiding.
Before that, they didn't get these guns legally. But it has been shown that the guns often the guns these people use were originally purchased legally.
That's right.
So, but what happens? I can sell you my rifle today.
Yeah.
We can. I can go over to your place tomorrow, drop off the shotgun.
Technically, you have to ask me for
your pal.
My pal. That's right. Yeah.
Get your pal. I see it. I walk away. I now don't know what you're doing with it. I don't know who you're going to sell it to. I got no idea. The aftermarket thing. That's the issue. Is there's not enough control to what's happening with these firearms, and they're not registered. When I buy it from Alberts, they take down the number and serial number and know who bought the gun. Anyways, but regardless, afterwards they don't know who had it afterwards. Exactly. So we don't know where these guns are going. So technically, if it was a registry, anyways, that's a whole other argument. So there's that. So the argument that gun law-abiding owners aren't the ones doing it, but unfortunately these guns do make it way through the system and they don't get tracked, and these legally purchased guns do become used in illegal activity.
Yeah.
The one thing, though, I can kind of say, and I think it's a bit on that same vein, which I can see a reason why to eliminate a certain style of guns, okay, and a certain or guns that can be modified and added stuff to it. Yes, so a handgun, we know you cannot carry a handgun unless you have your ATF.
What does ATF stand for? Because I don't own any handguns.
So a handgun is a restricted firearm.
Yes. Okay.
So you have to not just get your non-restricted, you then have to get your restricted firearms license, which is an extra weekend. Mm-hmm. But then you can own the gun.
Way to minimize that. Sorry.
It's kind of ridiculous. But you when you send in, there's a reference checks, there's all that stuff. There's background checks, there's all that stuff. So there's stuff to it. The course itself is not much. But anyways, you get your thing. But then if you want, you can buy the gun. But if you want to transport this gun, you have to get an authorization to transport firearms, an ATF.
Ah, gotcha.
You can only get the ATF through a legal registered gun range.
Okay.
And once you get that, you can only go from your home to the gun range with that gun in your car in the quickest route possible and the most direct route possible. You can't go stop in at Tim Hortons on the way. And if you get caught stopping at Tim Hortons on the way with your handgun in your car, you will get charged and you will lose your license.
Wow.
You have to go A to B. You can't go A, B, C. You have to go A to B, like a straight shot. So that's an ATF. So that's the extra thing with a restricted. So you can have a handgun. If you don't have your ATF, you can't have a handgun. Okay. So if I'm driving, if I'm a cop, let's say I'm a cop, I pull you over. Okay. You jump out of your car. You have a black handgun in your hands. Guess what? I'm shoot first, ask questions later. I'm a cop. I'm trying to defend myself.
Poorly trained officer.
But I'm defending myself. I'm defending anyone around. Okay, so I think you can argue that if the cop shot you who came out with the handgun, if I shot you, I think it would be understood that obviously there was an immediate threat, a perceived immediate threat. Blah blah blah. Sure. All right, get that. That's good. But then I go check you out. You're on the ground bleeding. I go check the rifle, the handgun. It's an airsoft gun, a black airsoft gun that looks exactly like a 9mm, exactly like a 45 caliber Beretta. Okay, so these it's a handgun. It looks like a handgun, but it shoots plastic pellets at however meters per second. The non-lethal. The only thing it can really kill is a chickmunk as most. All right, so this thing is. It's not illegal. You're allowed to drive with it. You're allowed to carry it wherever you want. It's not an illegal weapon. But I don't know when I see it.
When you perceive it, right?
When I pull you over, and you come out with this thing, I shoot at you. are you going to yell at me now that I shot you, or is your parents going to come at me and sue me as a cop because I shot you when you didn't have a dangerous weapon on you? I didn't know. I could only perceive something from 50 yards away.
Okay, but let me stop you there for 1 second, okay? Because you're saying that. So ultimately, the problem here is a police officer's misinterpretation of the firearm that was in the person's hand. Okay?
So let me continue with this. Okay? I think this might answer your question more, or you might develop or expand your question. Sure. So right now, the M16, the M4A1, a lot of these are fully automatic or selected fire. They can go from fully automatic burst round to semi-automatic to single shot. Mm-hmm. You can select some of these rifles. You can select how they fire. So those are already prohibited, illegal to own, all that stuff. The issue is that you can buy these essentially identical guns, barrel length. There's also an argument that there's a thing with the barrel length has to be so long.
Okay.
Because if it's compact, you can essentially hide it in your jacket and walk into a bank and shoot up the bank.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a legality with it. But you can have the same exact thing as an M16. You go in, get that gun, and it's a single shot M16. Completely legal to have. You can go hunting with it. You're using it to go hunt bear, whatever. Sure. It fires your NATO round. You go do your thing. Okay. Or a gun that looks just like an AK-47. It shoots the same bullet, the Soviet round, single fire. Has only a five round magazine. It looks like a full magazine, but it's completely legal. You can do it. Go for it. Okay. But the only thing is, when I pull you over as a cop, and you step out of your car and you're holding this identical looking M16 or AK-47, do I wait to see if you have now an overpowered gun than what I have in my 9mm handgun sidearm? What if I take the shot? What if I perceive I am in danger now and everyone else is in danger and I shoot at you? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? I didn't know you had a legally non-restricted rifle that looked exactly like a prohibited one and looked in every single way. No way I can tell the difference. Is that okay? And so I'm just saying, if with the elimination of these guns on this list, is that whole situation and opportunity is now gone. Okay. So as a cop, if I see it, I know you are carrying a gun illegally.
Okay,
you already had that threat up.
I'm going to say that that whole conversation sounds a little absurd to me because, and I don't know if this is
absurd. No.
I don't know if the somebody can correct me on this. I don't know if this is a red herring or if this is like a non-starter or whatever the fuck this actually is. But I feel like, okay, if I get pulled over by a cop and I walk out with a 12 gauge shotgun, like that I legally own, I can fully expect to be shot. Like,
or at least put a gun pointed at you.
I legally own this thing. Like, clearly this officer's in the wrong.
It's.
No, I get your point in it. Yeah. I understand that the perception of a specific firearm might be different. Might infer, or sorry, not infer. Might imply, cause others to infer, a motive, right? Or an intention. So if you have a certain type of firearm, a firearm that looks, sorry, not a certain type, a firearm that looks a certain way, our collective understanding of guns from movies and whatever, right, might cause us to sort of look at you holding that gun that looks like you're in the military, but still wearing your Hunter Orange for some reason. It might cause you to think that you're in danger, right? So, but this is where I'm a little sympathetic to people who have these guns for whatever reason they choose to have them, is that that's not a problem with them. That's a problem with people being poorly educated when it comes to firearms, right?
Yeah. And you know what? And I understand sport shooting. I think it's fun. I would, and I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't mind to go buy one. I think I think I would have a great time. And I've shot similar type of guns. They're fun. Absolutely. And especially when you're into firearms, they are fun. Once again, no, it's a privilege. And it's first of all, it's a sport to go do. It is not something that really fucking matters. If they outlawed the use of, recreational horse racing or whatever, because it's fucking animal cruelty, let's be honest, are we going to fucking say, well, you're taking a right away from me? Well, no, you're fucking using something that doesn't need to be done.
But Jay, this is a slippery slope, Jason. Today it's guns, tomorrow it's hockey. Like, it's just, we're living in a horrible society that's just sliding into totalitarianism with their mandatory vaccines and.
But like, let's be honest though, like, you could and I know the argument on the other side, and like I can play devil's advocate, and I see both sides too. Guess what? Somebody with a shotgun, you can get a semi-automatic shotgun. You can fit 5 rounds in that thing. You can do some goddamn damage.
Yeah. I mean, it's very true. Like, I there's a debate as to be had as to how effective these laws actually are. I don't know that they're actually that effective in deterring people who really want to be violent towards other people. Exactly. I mean, like, there was somebody who drove a fucking van through a crowd, right, a couple years ago, and that person, like, I don't know how many people died in that incident, but that person didn't have a firearm at all, right? So it's clearly people who have those intentions, they find ways to do it, but I think it says more about like what we want to be as our society, right? And there's always been this kind of like comparison between the States and us, right? There's a gun culture in both countries, right? There's a gun culture in the States and there's a gun culture in Canada, but the gun culture in Canada,
our gun culture is also much more elevated than it is in Europe too.
Of course, like, we have lots of guns.
We're here. Yeah. Europe is nowhere near us.
Yeah, and keep going. There's a lot of guns in Canada, but I forget who I saw post this online, but I thought it was really telling. It was that, like, you could walk around with like your unloaded, perhaps, 30-06 strapped on your. Like, you could open carry, correct? Like, if you wanted to walk around town,
it would have to be locked.
Does it have to be locked in city limits? Is that what it is?
It has to, unless you are using it, you have to have a gun.
Sure.
Either a something to prevent the mechanism to work. You would have to have a trigger lock, or if it's a bolt, you can put the whatever that lock's called. I can't remember what it's called.
Whatever it is, right? So like whatever locking mechanism you have, it has to be locked. But you could walk around with this thing strapped on you, and you could walk around town, right? But it seems that we don't have a problem with people doing that.
Yeah.
Because and I gotta choose my words carefully here, but it's like, and I think the person who posted this online had said, we don't do it because we're not assholes.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta at least wonder what your intentions are. Some people, like, their thought is that I will do it because it's my right to do it, right?
Yeah.
But you also gotta think, like, I mean, you don't have to, but my choice would be to think, like, I live in a society where I'm going to walk around and regardless of my intention, I'm wearing a gun, right? That there are going to be people around me. And I get that that's their misperception of my intention, but they're going to be looking at me like that's a dangerous man. And I'm going to scare the shit out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to choose not to do that. And I think there's more of a culture of that, and there seems to be a culture in the States of asserting your rights to do certain things. And it's not that these people are legitimately dangerous, but they appear dangerous to people who don't know them.
Yeah. Well, also, like, you gotta remember too, there's it's a very cultural thing, and law wise in Canada we don't have a shoot first law. You don't have the stand your ground law.
What is this?
You don't have
first law.
Well, the defend your property law, like the whatever that's called.
It's true.
Castle law? No.
Some people would like that in Canada.
I know some people like it, but in Canada, it is you can only use equal amount of force. So if someone breaks into your house and they don't have a rifle, and you go run over, get your rifle, and shoot them, you are going to jail for murder.
Yeah.
If there was no actual threat, if the person was literally just going in to steal your TV and trying to run away, and you shot him in the back, or you just shot him, period. We're not in the back, that adds a whole other aspect, but you just shot the guy, you can go for murder because you did not use, if they weren't attacking you, you have to have the perceived threat too. And there is technically like the equal plus one type of use of force, but you can't.
Are you a lawyer or something? Like, do you know this shit? How do you know this shit? Have you like looked this up so that you knew that if somebody walked into your house, you could shoot them? Like, how you could shoot them legally? This is disturbing to me. Like,
the only issue, they would have to have a gun first.
Ah, okay. So you would put the gun in their hand. So, you would say, "Sir, please hold this."
Can you hold this for a second? And the issue is like, it's very hard to get to my gun. There's locks and there's keys everywhere. They're hidden. It would be, and like the ammunition is another part of the house. It's quite the ordeal. Luckily, my house isn't that big, but so there are issues with that. I was going to look up the storage of handling, because I know like your guns have to be locked up, and not accessible when you're transporting them. They can't be in open view. They can't be like easily viewed. Like if you stepped out and went to like you just walk, like you have your shotgun, you're going hunting, you go walk into Albert's, go pick up a couple shells. The guns in your car cannot be easily seen.
Really?
And they have to be locked. Yes. So I'm not too sure about the carrying on your back
but what about,
in public. I'm not too sure.
But what
I don't know.
But what I don't understand about that, and again, this we're maybe exposing our own ignorance as gun owners. Good thing all mine are currently in my gun safe.
It has to be locked and keep going.
No, but what I was gonna say is that. Like I think there definitely is a difference between within city limits and within and like outside of city limits, right? Because if the idea is that you can't have a firearm in view, then why would you even carry one on you, right? Or why would you have one in a vehicle ready to display? Shoot?
The display of a non-restricted firearm, it has to be first unloaded. It has to be rendered inoperable by means of a secure locking device or in a container, receptacle, or room that is kept securely locked and is constructed and cannot be readily broken into. And it is not displayed with and is not readily accessible to ammunition that can be discharged from it. So that's for display. There's similar type things for prohibited, but there's more for non-restricted, blah, 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 prohibited. Transportation non-restricted firearms. And this is from the Canadian law page. An individual may transport a non-restricted firearm only if, except in the case of a muzzle-loading firearm that is being transported between hunting sites, it is unloaded. In the case of muzzle-loading firearm, it is being transported between hunting sites if the firearm cap flint is removed. So you may transport a non-restricted if it's going between hunting sites.
Muzzle-loaded.
Yes, yeah. No, who would use muzzle-loading? Subject to actually muzzle-loading, you get a longer hunting season for muzzle-loading.
Well,
yeah,
good to know.
Get an even longer one if you're doing bow. But anyways, subject to section 3, an individual may transport a non-restricted firearm in an unattended vehicle only if, when the vehicle is equipped with a trunk or similar compartment that can be securely locked, and non-restricted firearms in that trunk or compartment in the trunk have to be securely locked. When the vehicle is not equipped with a trunk or similar compartment, it can be securely locked. The non-restricted firearm is not visible to the outside. So, like I was saying, you can't easily be seen and must be locked.
So you can't put it like in the cab of the vehicle, like fucking sitting there.
Exactly.
Open action.
Guys used to have the gun rack on the back of the truck in their Bronco and shit. You can't do that.
Can't do that.
If in a remote wilderness area, the subject is any visible or otherwise reasonable, accessible, and operated. So if you're, I guess if it's in like your your hunting camp, you have to have it locked up. So antique, I think. So yeah, you have to go. It has to be locked, and you have to be going between hunting sites. You have to go from home to the hunting site. You can't be hanging out downtown.
From what if your hunting site is? I guess.
Well, no, you can drive to your hunting site. It's from what it says here is between hunting sites. So like from going here to your hunting site, if you're going to drive to the bush to go hunting, you're looking for bear or whatever, partridge.
So if you're driving, but if you're driving around, if you're driving around your hunting site, like you're good. You're good. You don't. If you're hunting, you can keep it unlocked.
Keep it unlocked because you're possession of it.
So as long as you can legally hunt where you're driving, right? That's a hunting regulation, right? You can't hunt within city limits.
It has to be unloaded.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Learning something new every day. Knowledge is power.
And I knew that. I know that rule. I know it can't be loaded when I'm in my car.
I thought it was. I thought you were allowed to. So hey, you learn something new every day. Right?
And remember too,
going to be a lot safer now. No.
And in Canada, for a shotgun, it has to be if you're hunting, you have to have the plug in it. So in hunting for hunting for shotgun, you can only fit 3 shells in it.
Yeah. Well, that's if your gun holds more than that, right? Yeah. If you're allowed to have 5. You don't need the plug-in if you're going out target shooting. But if you're hunting,
you have to have the plug-in. Yeah. So anyways, so you can't. From what I can tell, you can't really open carry. You can go from place to place. I guess your argument would be like, oh, I'm heading over to wherever.
I'm walking to my hunting site. See, you're
in front of City Hall with my yellow vest.
Yeah. Oh,
what?
What do you mean? That was.
I meant hunting orange. Sorry, I'm colorblind. I can't.
Makes sense. Anyways, that was a lot of gun talk.
Yeah, it was, but it is interesting. It's
No, it's interesting because it touches on a lot of things, right? I really do believe that there are reasonable people on both sides of this argument, and there are also unreasonable people too, right? There are people on the side that just don't understand anything about guns and go like, why do you need guns? Like, why do you need a gun, period? And it's like, well, nobody needs a gun, but nobody needs a lot of things, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff that we don't need that's dangerous. And we don't outlaw that. So I get those arguments, but I also think there's some unreasonable people on the other side that just really believe they sort of feel like they're living in the Wild West, and this is like the government coming to, intrude on their liberties. And I think there's this romanticizing of like, I don't know, independence and liberty, freedom type shit that comes, and that's heavily Americanized, that we're influenced a lot by like what goes on in the States, and to be fair, like on their end, they've at least got a constitutional amendment that they can point to, right? They can say, like, this is part of the founding of our country.
Yeah, they can be amended.
Of course it can. Yeah, it's an amendment, right?
Did you see? I shared something online, and it was I think it was a quick little story thing, but it's from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it said the government can't tell me what to do because the one 200 years ago told me what I can do. Just like. Okay. All right.
That was good. That's a good show.
Always
Sunny. Yeah, it's fucking great.
It's you're right though. It's very Americanized. We think whatever, but like we said, what can you do? What can't you do with my 30-06, hunting rifle, and that you can't do with an AR-15? Like, do we need the AR-15 styled gun? No. Do we eliminate issues? Like,
we do.
And let's put it this way. Do you think it's reasonable to buy those rifles back and give you the money to go buy a hunting version instead?
Sure.
If we save one child's life, Corey? What's a child's life worth to you?
Jason, I've been listening to too much Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew in the morning to hear too much of this. Like, if it saves one life, one life, it's worth everything.
But to a degree, like for shit like that, let's be honest.
Of course.
Like, yes, when we want to say like, oh, we shouldn't allow flights, we shouldn't allow this, shouldn't allow that, or whatever. It's like, okay, I think we have to roll the dice once in a while and go for it. But this, you can easily substitute it for something else.
Of course.
And if it gives us a chance to maybe skew some numbers and not allow us to have as many, or you diffuse that possibility, or make it easier for a cop to make that arrest.
Personally, I think we should be expanding this thing to things like Sea-Doos and jet skis. Shit that fucking annoys everybody.
Any skidoo with a goddamn fucking stupid muffler that...
Fucking motorcycles can be loud as fuck and really, really annoying, right? So any motorcycle that exceeds a certain decibel,
yep.
Then absolutely that motorcycle is dangerous.
Yeah. When you can go buy a Honda or a BMW and you can be standing next to it and you're like, is that on? Like, you're not too sure. Meanwhile, the whatever is fucking, you hear from 18 blocks away. All right, come on.
All right. We've got to outlaw this thing because it really does attract a certain type of person.
Douchebags. I don't know what to tell you. Douchebags. It attracts douchebags.
Okay, speaking of douchebags, I'm gonna be a douchebag, and I sort of broke the seal earlier, so I gotta go. I gotta go rocket piss again. So I think we're gonna do another break here.
All right.
I'll be right back. All right, so this is gonna be a heavily edited podcast. Heavily edited 2 fucking clips.
No, what we should have done. We should have started doing random calls to John Belanger to see if they would pick up. But
I totally forgot about that too, eh? Like, as we were supposed to do this, but anyways, we'll get him. He's supposed to be our like phone-in guest, eh? From time to time. So, yeah.
You know what? I actually, we got to do that other. We have the one segment we want to start doing soon with somebody. Our local conspiracy theorists.
That's right. We're really we're tapping into. We met this fellow who is very. How can I say?
Eccentric?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to call him eccentric. I mean, he's very in tune with alternative theories on what's going on in the world today.
Yeah.
And
you know what? We should try to get him on next one for at least a few minutes, just to hear what's like. So what I've been told, or what he's always tells me, there's always new things. I like reading these things. I have a Schadenfreude thing about it. I like to go and read, kind of like, oh, what are these crazy quacks talk about now? And I think I'm up to date with it. And I have been told by this individual, like I am light years behind.
Oh,
and so
doesn't surprise me.
This individual wants to come on and kind of just give us the heads up on what's the new and the cool things in alternative theories.
I really do think that's going to make for a really interesting segment, because I mean I could use to be educated on. I like to view all sides, right, of an argument. So it's interesting to see what's going on. So we'll have to get him on the next podcast, and if he wants to, if he's really interested, he can start leaving messages on our Anchor page, and we can play them on the podcast. So
so I'll talk to him. I'll talk to him again.
Yeah, see if you can't set it up. I know he is very big on having a secure connection, and because he did see some, I'm pretty sure they are peer-reviewed YouTube videos, where Edward Snowden was saying that the government can track everything on your cell phone. So you but the one thing they didn't think about was the piece of tape on your webcam. That's the one thing they just.
I don't know if you
put the piece of tape on your webcam, you're good.
Good. Did I tell you about did I make a joke about this before? It's like I always say, like, because I used to see it, especially when I went back to school. Everyone had the sticker on their webcam, and I'd be like, "Why do you guys have that?" Well, I don't want somebody to hack my camera and see what I'm doing when I'm getting undressed or doing whatever. And all they thought about was like, if someone hacks my camera, they're going to see some disgusting shit. It's going to be a bunch of wheezing and sweating, and it's going to look disgusting. So like, and like, what are you going to do? It's like, guess what? Who's going to like hold me hostage saying, "Oh, Corey, we hacked your camera, and we're going to release the video of you looking at stepmoms and stepsisters, and we're going to release that if you don't pay us a couple of grand." You'd be like, "Okay, well, go for it. I'm calling the cops." No one's going to want to see it. So
No.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And two, you just literally you've sunk yourself. Like, you're going to jail. Like,
No,
I always be like, whatever.
And see, I think a lot of people are really kind of freaked out about this, the level of, I don't want to call it, it's not oversight, but the level of like the perceived surveillance, right? Because there's a lot of information gathering, and yes, I get it from this side of, especially in countries where there's like a lot of dissent is sort of oppressed, right? Like what's that?
Like where?
I don't know. Like not in Canada. Like
yeah. Let's not name the countries because I might want to visit them one day. And all I gotta say is that I believe we should have equal distribution of everything.
Okay, let's remember that.
And I'm not completely against the idea that the government and the state should control means of production. I'm not saying I'm against the idea.
No, but okay. But the point I was getting at is that if you're a whistleblower, you know, yeah. I get that there are concerns on that front. But like your average person who's worried about like fucking video of you jerking off getting on the internet, like first of all, very unlikely that's gonna happen.
Did you think I was talking about that? I wasn't talking about that.
Stepmom, what are you doing? Just watching out of interest?
It's weird that your head went there.
Sure. No, but I think like the internet in general and social media is sort of like, and even unwittingly, right? Like is sort of exposed a lot of people. Like clearly, we've fucking been sitting here for an hour and 40 minutes talking. Like somebody could come and look at what we've been talking about and be like, oh, fucking so and so said this. And I think we're realizing that, like, we're not all our resumes, right? Like, before we were all trying to put out a certain, I guess, image to the world, right? And now it's becoming a little bit more bare. And as much as people talk about, like, people having fake Instagram lives, like, you put enough of yourself out there on the internet, like, the real you is going to come through. And if you're a piece of shit, like, people are going to figure it out pretty quick. Mm-hmm. And I think ultimately that's healthy, right? Like, not only do we need to know who sucks, but who we sort of, people need to realize, like, when they're not, I don't know, they're not genuine or they're not like, and you sort of smell it from a mile away, right? When something is just so staged online and everything. And I know it's sort of getting away from the hacking of webcams there, like, but even just what we offer up voluntarily online, right? Not just what could potentially be hacked. So I don't know, like I and especially now people are probably spending a lot more time on the internet, that you're going to see more of that, and you're going to see more people's like real personalities kind of come through and how they really feel about certain things, right?
One thing I realized with this whole COVID stuff, it sounds like I was going to say like COVID, like false
fad. This whole COVID fad
cover up.
Jesus,
I'm actually kind of happy about it. not COVID, is the fact that I'm happy that I can see people's online habits more, or their personality through what they do online. You see people. I have blocked and or unfriended or unfollowed, depending on arm's length or non-arm's length relationships, people, because I now find out that they're just, first of all, quacks, just ignorant, or straight up just racist or whatever. Or I now know it's like, oh, you believe in this? You believe in, I'll say, you're an anti-vaxxer? I don't need to talk to you anymore. I'm sorry. You don't have the ability to easily, tell fact from fiction. We don't really need to be, I don't need to be talking to you. I got nothing interesting to say to you.
That's a fair point. And the only thing I will eat crow on when it comes to this, though, is
you also don't believe
I
it.
usually felt I felt the same way about certain people in my social media who believed Tom DeLonge when it came to UFOs, and then this week here, Tom DeLonge was right, my friends. I will completely eat
so the only thing with
this.
the only thing with this UFO video is that it's still like they don't know what it is. It's an unidentified flying object. Does not mean it's
kind of a cop out
spacecraft.
name, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, so UFO's like, okay, so what is it? Like, is it a Chinese or Russian friggin', spy, whatever? Like, and they're like, oh, nothing moves that way. It's like, yeah, but you know what? Before the friggin' Sukhoi 27 came out, nothing did those maneuvers as well. Before the whatever plane came out, nothing did that maneuver as well. Like, some things come in, and then also, oh, this breaks the laws of physics. Guess what? At the time, we assumed some of these things broke the laws of physics as well. Like, yes, you look at China and the Soviet Union, and the Americans had, let's not argue, scramjets, things that do like Mach 8, like they go like, yeah, we don't know what these things are. And also, there's issues, but like, yeah, I'm not saying there isn't, like, I'll be the first one to believe, I don't believe we're that fucking special to be the only goddamn species in the goddamn world, or in the not the world, in the universe. Like, I get it, I understand. I'm quite atheist enough to believe
it's possible
to be. There's more of a possibility that we're not the only ones here. Do I believe that they would waste their time and just checking us out and just kind of like hanging out in front of an F-16 and flying away? I think they have a bigger budget.
If they can make it here, if they have figured out how to make it here, and
it would just be fucking
visit us, yeah, they probably would see us more as the way we see ants, right?
Yeah,
like if you think about our relationship to small insects, and the way we just sort of,
they would just
disregard whatever they give a shit about, and we just like, oh, look, and move along. Yeah. Then that's probably the same.
They wouldn't just come fuck with us and grab some guy over the fucking backwoods of Arkansas and just throw something up his ass and leaving. That they can do more.
Yeah, couldn't they grab like a world leader or something, or something like somebody important who appears important? Like, if we want to study insects, we grab the queen bee, right? Like,
exactly, the queen of the hive. Let's grab her out. Let's see what sets her tick, or what everyone else does because we grab her. Sure. All right, we realize when I grab the queen bee, the fucking whole swarm comes after me.
So when the aliens, when they we've got to take this seriously when they come and abduct Trump. And when he comes on TV, he says, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but last night I was abducted into an alien spacecraft.
The only issue, if he says it, will be like, all right, you've been inhaling the spray tan a little too much, haven't you?
Most of us will say, okay, we knew he was crazy, but we didn't realize he was this crazy. And then the last 13% of the population will say it definitely happened.
Oh yeah. You would have the the always Trumpers be like, oh fuck, oh, like a good chunk of them being like, okay, well we can't defend this now.
The always Trumpers, they see Trump like George Washington, right? Like he cannot tell a lie. It's
but
yeah,
but only tell a lie.
Yeah, but only tell a lie.
That's just a whole. There's a whole like psychological thing there that I don't understand. But
why people are super into Trump? I think they're really
it's just closed off to undisputable fact. Like I understand deep fake videos being released of politicians saying certain things, and they've now had them like they had AOC saying whatever, and they had also who else like okay, we can tell the deep fakes. They're gonna get good, but we're gonna know when they were said or not said.
Sure.
Like they're gonna have, a deep fake of Anderson Cooper interviewing AOC saying that yes, we should do this, and then like when we go and ask Anderson Cooper, he'd be like, that never happened. Yeah. And AOC's like, I wasn't there. I was here. I was across the country at this time. Like it's gonna be hard to say this, but like the stuff he'll say something, and they'll say, well, no, he didn't say that, or he will say, I never said that, and like that, I just don't understand that. It's a cognitive dissonance. Like, how can you just let that? Like, you're just cool.
So, I think it's more of an expression of frustration with, and this is like a classic thing, right? Like when we had Charlie on the podcast, I remember we were talking about this. It was just the cynicism that people have towards politics now, right? They're just so sick and tired of politicians, right? And I think most people were fed the same kind of politician for a very, very long time. Like the one who just sort of said what was expected to be said, and it was always the same person. And this is kind of the risk that's coming along with this like Joe Biden nomination, right? Is like it's the next guy in line, right? The next guy to sort of be
let's come back to that after, but keep going.
Yeah. But I think Trump's the expression of that. Ultimately, what seemed to be true is like people don't really care if he's telling the truth or not. Like they're not stupid people. They don't care. They're just so cynical about politics, and they're so cynical about like even life in general that it's like, yeah, you know what? He says shit that pisses people off. The people I don't like, the people who I see as ruined my life or fucked me over or whatever, right? I'm offended by those people, and he offends those people. So he's got me in his corner, right?
So what about like this argument you hear? It's like, you say, well, Trump lied, this and this. Yeah, but they all lie. But they don't like politicians because politicians are liars and don't tell you the truth. It's like, it's all right. Well, I don't like politicians because they don't tell us the truth and they lie and they bullshit us. Meanwhile, he's lying, whatever. And if you call that, it's like, well, they all do. Like, it's completely okay. And they do the same thing. It's the same in Canada. It's all right. Scheer does this. It's like, oh, well, it's just not a big deal. It's like, oh, Trudeau shouldn't have gone to his cottage and done this and that. Let's supposed to be social distancing, but Scheer, got on a plane of all these people to fly here, and they chartered their own plane. And but like, it's one or the other. Like, it's always okay if their team does it. It's not okay when the other team does it. And once again, we are both not, subscribing most of the time to both those two parties most of the time. Like, I think we're somewhere in between of everything.
Yeah, we're not left or right wing. We are I don't know, like left or right shoulder or breast, or I don't know what is more closer to the middle there, but it's more this idea, and I don't know. There's been like this kind of increasing talk of like what a center looks like, right? Mm-hmm. And a center, you would assume, understands where the arguments are coming from on both sides. And mm-hmm. I always find myself respecting politicians who can be friendly with with somebody who's not of their own political persuasion.
Yep.
Right. I find that to me is the most like charming thing to me.
Yeah.
But and what's the biggest turnoff to me is when I have either a conservative politician or a left-wing politician that is 100% convinced that anything right of center or anything left of center is wrong. It's the wrong answer, right? And not really understanding that this, everybody's got legitimate concerns, and it's just maybe the context or the specific issue lends itself more to a left-wing solution, and the opposite lends itself more to a right-wing solution. So I mean, I think there's a lot of discussion that could be happening, and I think that people need to stop picking teams. Like as much as it's tempting to want to just know that you're right, it's very likely you're not 100% right. Like there are very few people in this world that have the complete answer to a problem, especially a complex problem.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing, or personally, I believe that friend of the show, Mr. Bisson,
what would he have said?
Pardon?
What would he have said?
Speaking to him, like I have heard him say, and he says often, like there's he'll say like, oh, this guy is a quack. This person is, this guy's a snake, this whatever. But he'll be, hey, that guy just, he doesn't want high taxes. That's just what his thing is. I'll go for beer with him. We'll yell at each other. We're laughing at each other across the aisle. He's not a bad guy. And I often think some of these people aren't bad. Like, and I even see like, during municipal elections or whatever, you'll see, the chamber will go argue a point. And I get it. The chamber are representing their constituents. That's or their members, and their members want to pay less in municipal property tax for commercial taxes. I get it. That's what they're there to represent that need. They're going to argue that. I don't agree that they should or whatever, or disagree on this aspect or not this aspect. But hey, that's what they're there for. Do I believe they're bad people for doing that? Absolutely. But that's no, but it's like, hey, they're not bad people. They're doing doing their thing, and they're pushing their view or their wants and their needs. It's like I get it. I believe there's there might be a better way to go to it, and that's what a true centrist would be. What it would be.
That's right.
Would can see both sides and argue both sides, like. Or see, try to find that middle ground type thing. But yeah, I don't think these people are necessarily bad. Well, some of them are, but not all of them are necessarily bad.
Yeah, but see, like I'm willing to extend a little bit of good faith on that front. I think some people are more predisposed to different arguments, right? Or they're more predisposed to sensitivity to certain arguments. So. And that comes down to like your personality and your temperament and a lot of things that you inherit. So the way I sort of parse this out is that there are people I significantly disagree with, but I believe that they're honest in their beliefs and their convictions. So, like you can have somebody that you really, really disagree with, but that you don't have to attribute to them that they're dishonest or evil or anything like that. You can just believe that they're wrong, right? And if you sort of framed it in that sense, and the person didn't have to be a bad person, they just had to be wrong, right? Like, could it not lead to better conversation and better maybe find a easier finding of common ground? Because I don't know, like as soon as somebody labels me a bad person, like I probably stop listening to that person, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not interesting to have a conversation with somebody who just thinks your motives are
Yeah.
evil.
Or your motives are evil, or you're an idiot because you don't believe in this, or
Yeah, you know, like they're not willing to take you seriously. At least, you know, like you
I may or may not got an argument with one of your friends about alternative facts.
who are
Yeah.
my friends?
Or not, maybe not one of your friends, maybe one of your acquaintances, or
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Alternative facts. Yeah, don't worry.
Anyways.
I've gotten the same argument.
yeah. But the thing I want to go back to a while ago, you were saying Biden. Do you see possibility of Governor Cuomo coming up? Do you think there might be a power play happening?
I don't fucking know. Honestly,
Because I think if he runs, I think he could take it. He could take it.
especially
he
now, yeah.
He has to go and win. He has to go win the whatever the convention. But fuck, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? He would kill.
Yeah.
He's smart. He does not take shit. He will call you out. Everyone loves him.
He's
Everyone goddamn
definitely
loves him.
more there than Joe Biden is.
Oh yeah, way more there. But also, I think in a swing state, he take it. He's intelligent. He knows what's going on. He understands the politics. He's not lost. You think he can take? Who do you think could win in a back and forth debate? Him or Trump?
I think he'll take
Easily.
it, but he'll at least fare better than Biden will.
Yeah. Well, things. I almost want to watch Biden and Trump in a debate because it's going to be a train wreck on both sides.
Yeah, they're both
Which-
just old guys, you know. Like
I know. Which is why Cuomo's not that as nowhere near as old. He's not young, but he's not nowhere near as old. That'd be great. I think it'd be he says he doesn't want to. It'd be fantastic. I think it'd be a win.
yeah,
But also, it's kind of showing that how much the federal government really has power right now, and how much they do but don't have power, because like the governors are now setting up like area freaking confederacies or
well,
like,
this is
groupings.
what they're all these constitutionalists and like libertarians want, right? Like this is what they want. They want the governors to be able, like the states' rights, right, to be able to do things on their own. So. Hey, listen there. We're getting on 2 hours.
Yeah.
I am personally, I don't know if I'm getting a little
tired.
drunk or
little sauce. See, so I had a question.
Sure.
I could find a beer quote if I wanted to.
If you want,
I know we were hoping to maybe keep a letter for one of a potential guest. I wonder if we should just read that letter today to finish this
Okay,
off.
can we tell this story first? Because I do think that we're
No,
supposed to have
yeah,
a guest on,
all
but
right.
we're gonna maybe you can give somebody the prelude and I'll read the letter.
All right,
when-
you can read the letter.
yeah.
So the prelude to this is we have a friend or an acquaintance, actually straight-laced, everything. Funny guy though. His name is Lance. We'll just say Lance. We will
Hi,
say
Lance.
Hi, Lance. Yeah, I guess you guys were together on my bachelor party. Yeah, you were there. Yeah.
We were
So,
together at your bachelor party.
Well, you were
Sounds
together.
about right.
Actually, I think he crashed in someone's hotel room that night. Anyways, so Lance is very much he's a poli-sci, I think poli-sci major, but very much a fan of politics, and he has a friend who is a constituency assistant for Mr. Wayne Gates, the MPP for Niagara Falls area, and he decided to write. He would send correspondence back and forth with his buddy often.
But tell
Just for
me
jokes.
more about this Wayne Gates guy, though.
So Wayne Gates is the job champion, very much labor movement. If you just search him up, the guy has the best mustache in the world.
Yeah.
I would argue best mustache in Queens Park.
Okay.
I don't think there's an argument.
We wouldn't argue.
Most beautiful mustache. Not even best, beautiful mustache. Anyways, so our friend Lance sent his friend a letter. And they were just emailing back and forth. And he sent him a joke. And this joke goes on, and you'll discuss it. But it was never meant to see the light of day. God, fuck, should we even be talking about this?
Yeah.
Should we even say Lance? Is that giving up too much?
No.
Okay.
Lance can come on and come clear his name if he wants to.
Well, I feel like doing like a Bart S. No, wait. Too obvious. B. Simpson. But it was our friend, Mr. L. Was joking around saying email to his friend, but his friend thought it was hilarious and actually printed it off and put it on the job champion's desk, not telling him any context and just walking away. So
I don't read this letter.
Our friend Mr. L, our buddy L, gave me this letter later on to read and told me, guess what? This was given to him one time just as a joke. And I was pissed off that he did it, but it's pretty funny. Here's the letter I sent. So then I read this letter during a City of Timmins city council meeting. I was in the audience reading this, crying my balls off with laughter.
You read this?
I was just reading to myself on my
iPad. Okay. I thought sorry, when you said this, I thought you said you read this in a meeting.
Yeah. I'm reading it while there's the meeting going on, and I'm reading it, and I'm crying.
Okay.
I'm laughing so much, tears are rolling down my eyes, and our friend L, you should go back and bleep every time I said his name.
No, it's fine.
So, anyways, it was hilarious. I thought it's the funniest thing ever, and we always talk about this. So I will let you read this letter that was given to a municipal or a provincial member of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario.
Yeah, so any 90s WWF fans are going to really appreciate this, but this is addressed to Mr. Wayne Gates, MPP, for the Niagara Falls region, if I'm correct?
I believe, yes.
Is that right?
Well, you can see it in the first line afterwards.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Dear Wayne, please accept this correspondence in the strictest of confidence. I am writing today in recognition of both your title as Niagara Falls Jobs Champion and your many years' experience in the labor movement. These credentials indicate that you are without question the man to speak to regarding a very serious issue that has for the last 15 years stood as a massive injustice.
So this is now 25 years easily.
Yeah, 25 years now. Wayne, I ask you, is it time that we right this wrong? As you know, we are in the grip of a terrible power struggle that I feel is all but lost. But it is time that the legislature made a commitment to provide assistance to the union, as it has now been without significant representation since the corporation merged with the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness in 1999 to create the much maligned corporate ministry. These corrupt forces stomped out the union's flame, and with it a part of its very humanity. We cannot fault the Undertaker, however. He does what he can. Now, I can just see this Mr. Wayne Gates' face start to look somewhat confused at this point. As jobs champion, I ask that you table a bill committing Ontario to the mobilization of resources in support of this cause. I believe the best method of support will be to provide subsidy to Hearst, Ontario 2x4 lumber production. We have seen the union prefer this symbol of working class resistance. This will result in increased exportation and stimulated demand. Stimulate 2x4 production, Wayne, and union membership will skyrocket. As a matter of priority, we must first make contact with the union's former chief representative, Mankind. Although I have little evidence, I am certain that he has kept an underground union movement operating, albeit discreetly. Please, Wayne, He has fought this battle alone for far too long. The Big Show may know of his whereabouts. Che Guevara showed us in Bolivia that the creation of a favorable domestic political conditions is essential to success. Mankind is key to this. I further ask that you work to help relieve the Undertaker of his responsibility for the hanging of the Big Boss Man. This act, although brutal, was not the fault of the ministry. As you know, Vincent McMahon deceived the Undertaker. All subsequent actions taken at his behest are therefore pardonable. I believe the Undertaker wields a power far too great to forsake in this fight. I can't fucking stop laughing. Sorry. Sergeant Slaughter, although goofy, can confirm this claim. A man of his... a man of his military service should not be taken lightly. Attached, you will find the photographs of several individuals I feel will lend a helping hand in our plight. Please seek them out. Thank you, Wayne. I know you will do the right thing. Yours in Union Fever, L. And it goes on to show a picture of Buff Bagwell, King Kong Bundy, Goldberg. What is it?
Booker T.
Booker T. And it was Heat. Harlem Heat.
Yes.
Harlem Heat. Oh, for fuck's sake.
It is.
Okay.
So, imagine trying to read that letter in quiet during a municipal council meeting.
Oh, that's too much. Anyways, if you know Wayne Gates, I'm sure there has been no action taken upon this letter, so I am quite furious with him. And if you're in Niagara Falls, you should be phoning his office every day now until he takes action on this union-led 2x4 production in Hearst, Ontario.
All right, so that's good enough to finish off right there.
That's the podcast right there. Anyways, Jay, this was fun. I had a good time. Thanks everybody for listening.
Whatever.
Now I got to record the intro to this. Well,
there you
I'm
go.
a little bit
Teary-eyed.
drunk. So that
right.
being said, I hope everybody had a good time. Jay, no, that's the beer quote right there.
That's the bear quote.
All right,
Nothing better. You can't get better.
that's very right. Cheers, my friend. We'll see you next week.
We've been drinking beer, and we'll be drinking when you get here. We'll be drinking when you get here. We'll be wasting